I believe that opportunity looks a lot like hard work. When I was 13, I had my first job with my dad carrying shingles up to the roof. And then I got a job washing dishes at a restaurant. And then I got a job in a grocery store deli. And then I got a job in a factory sweeping Cheerio dust off the ground. And I've never had a job in my life that I was better than. I was always just lucky to have a job. And every job I had was a stepping stone to my next job. And I never quit my job until I had my next job. And so opportunities look a lot like work.
Anyone here been in the army?
Yes. I served with you at Vindabona.
You can help me. Whatever comes out of these gates, we've got a better chance of survival if we work together. Do you understand? If we stay together, we survive.
Wow, was my reaction.
Nice, good looking.
Please. Oh, gosh. When we have disagreements, we tend to go quiet on the other one and just sort of...
There's things you can't say.
Yeah.
We just make love and then we make up again. I don't know if you're allowed to say that, but basically we just like each other and get on and want the same things.
Yeah.
He's still all right, he's still all right, yeah. I wouldn't change him.
Even in the early days, if you set a computer on every desk in every home and you'd say, okay, how many homes are there in the world? How many desks are there in the world? You know, can I make $20 for every home, $20 for every desk? You know, you could get these big numbers. But part of the beauty of the whole thing was we were very focused on the here and now. Should we hire one more person? If our customers didn't pay us, would we have enough cash to meet the payroll? You know, we really were very practical about that next thing and so involved in the deep engineering that we didn't get ahead of ourselves. We never thought, you know, how big we'd be. I remember when one of the early lists of wealthy people came out and one of the Intel founders was there. The guy who ran Wing Computers actually was still, Wang was still doing well. And we thought, boy, if the software business does well, the value of Microsoft could be similar to that. But it wasn't a real focus. The everyday activity of just doing great software drew us in. And some decisions we made, like the quality of the people, the way we were very global, the vision of how we thought about software, that was very long term. But you know, other than those things, you know, we just came into work every day and wrote more code and, you know, hired more people. And it wasn't really until the IBM PC succeeded, and perhaps even until Windows succeeded, that there was a broad awareness that Microsoft was very unique as a software company, that these other companies had been one-product companies, hadn't hired people, couldn't do a broad set of things, didn't renew their excellence, didn't do research. So you know, we thought we were doing something very unique, but it was easily not until 1995 or even 1997 that there was this wide recognition that we were the company that had revolutionized software.
Several years ago here at TED, Peter Skillman introduced a design challenge called the Marshmallow Challenge. And the idea is pretty simple. Teams of 4 have to build the tallest freestanding structure out of 20 sticks of spaghetti, 1 yard of tape, 1 yard of string, and a marshmallow. And the marshmallow has to be on top. And though it seems really simple, it's actually pretty hard because it forces people to collaborate very quickly. So there are a number of people who have a lot more uh-oh moments than others. And among the worst are recent graduates of business school. It's amazing. They lie, they cheat, they get distracted, and they produce really lame structures. And of course, there's teams that have a lot more ta-da structures. And among the best are recent graduates of kindergarten. And it's pretty amazing, as Peter tells us. Not only do they produce the tallest structures, but they're the most interesting structures of them all. So the question you want to ask is, how come? Why? What is it about them? And Peter likes to say that none of the kids spend any time trying to be CEO of Spaghetti Inc., right? They don't spend time jockeying for power. But there's another reason as well. And the reason is that business students are trained to find the single right plan, right? And then they execute on it. And then what happens is when they put the marshmallow on top, they run out of time, and what happens? It's a crisis. Sound familiar, right? Okay. What kindergartners do differently is that they start with the marshmallow and they build prototypes, successive prototypes, always keeping the marshmallow on top. So they have multiple times to fix, and they build prototypes along the way. So designers recognize this type of collaboration as the essence of the iterative process. But let's look at how different teams perform. So the average for most people is around 20 inches. Business school students, about half of that. Lawyers, a little better, but not much better than that. Kindergarten's better than most adults. Who does the very best? Architects and engineers. Thankfully. And 39 inches is the tallest structure I've seen. And why is it? Because they understand triangles and self-reinforcing geometrical patterns are the key to building self-reinforced stable structures. So CEOs, a little bit better than average, but here's where it gets interesting. If you put an executive admin on the team, they get significantly better. It's incredible. You know, you look around, you go, oh, that team's going to win. You can just tell beforehand. And why is that? Because they have special skills of facilitation. They manage the process. They understand the process. And any team who manages and pays a close attention to work will significantly improve the team's performance.
I hear people say like, well, how do I get in the New York Times? Or how do I get that meeting with that CEO? And oftentimes I just say, 1 is better than 0. The steps it takes to actually get to the biggest places in the world. Before you get a meeting with, you know, Zucks or Cuban or Barry Diller or whoever you're trying to have a meeting with in the business world, well, you've got to have a lot of little meetings to build up your cadence. People are always like, man, you've been on Conan and Ellen and the Today Show and CNN and Fox. Like, how do I get that? And I'm like, well, I also did 1,000 interviews, it feels like, on videos that got 1 or 19 or 137 views. To me, doing these interviews is a process of the work that so many people are impatient and not willing to do. Are you willing to take 10 minutes to get 195 views? I am. I don't know who you think you are. You've not gotten the exposure yet. When you have not made your name just yet, when you're still making the climb, when you're not paying attention because nobody else is, because 217 people are watching the video, I'm grinding when you're sleeping. I did those 87s and 59s and 137s and 813 views day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out, and continue to. You might make a video on somebody's video show that has 89 viewers, but one of those 89 viewers may be a producer at CNN or might be the CFO of a big company that you're trying to reach. And so undervaluing just that one view, it needs to be the right view, but it's one view, is a humongous mistake. It's about having the humility. It's about not saying no, even when you've made it. And the 1 is greater than 0 concept is something I'm proud that I continue to execute on.
what we're about isn't making boxes for people to get their jobs done, although we do that well. We do that better than almost anybody in some cases. But Apple's about something more than that. Apple, at the core, its core value, is that we believe that people with passion can change the world for the better. That's what we believe. And we've had the opportunity to work with people like that. We've had an opportunity to work with people like you, with software developers, with customers who have done it in some big and some small ways. And we believe that in this world, people can change it for the better. And that those people that are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that actually do. And so what we're going to do in our first brand marketing campaign in several years is to get back to that core value. A lot of things have changed. The market's a totally different place than it was a decade ago. And Apple's totally different, and Apple's place in it is totally different. And believe me, the products and the distribution strategy and the manufacturing are totally different, and we understand that. But values and core values, those things shouldn't change. The things that Apple believed in at its core are the same things that Apple really stands for today. And so we wanted to find a way to communicate this. And what we have is something that I'm very moved by. It honors those people who have changed the world. Some of them are living, some of them are not. But the ones that aren't, as you'll see, you know that if they ever used a computer, it would have been a Mac. And the theme of the campaign is Think Different. It's the people, honoring the people who think different and who move this world forward. And it is what we are about. It touches the soul of this company. So I'm going to go ahead and roll it, and I hope that you feel the same way about it I do.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
What's our most valuable possession on the planet? Our children, right? Our most valuable possession on the planet are our children. So let's game out a scenario. Let's imagine we want to go on a date, so we require a babysitter. We have two options. Option number one, there's a 16-year-old from just down the street from within the community with barely, if any, babysitting experience. There's a 32-year-old who just moved into the neighborhood, we don't know from where, but she's got 10 years of babysitting experience. Who do we choose? The 16-year-old. Think about that for a second. We'd rather trust our children, our most valuable possession on the planet, with somebody from within our community with no experience, over somebody with vast amounts of experience, but we have no idea where they're from or what they believe. Then why do we do it differently at work? Why are we so preoccupied with someone's resume and where they've worked and what they've done for our competition, and yet we never think to consider what they believe, where they're from? How can we trust them? How can they trust us? The problem with most organizations, believe it or not, whether it's a community or a culture, what's a community, what's a culture? It's a group of people with a common set of values and beliefs, right? What's a nation? It's a group of people with a common set of values and beliefs. And the single biggest challenge that any culture or any organization will ever face is its own success. When an organization is founded, all organizations are founded on the same basic principles. There's some sort of measurement. It's often money, but it can be anything. And then there's time. And when an organization is founded, what they do and why they do it are inextricably linked. There's usually some founder or some small group of founders that are able to put their vision into words, and their passion inspires others to come and join them in pursuit of something greater than all of themselves. And they trust their guts, and off they go, and it's an amazing experience. The problem is, as they grow, as what they do becomes more successful, they can no longer rely on themselves. They have to now hire somebody who hires somebody who hires somebody who hires somebody who hires somebody who has to make a decision. Based on what? And what they do starts to grow, that metric. The problem is, why they do it starts to go fuzzy. And this is the biggest single challenge any organization will face. It's this thing right here, the thing that I call the split. Symptoms of the split inside an organization are when stress goes up and passion goes down. Symptoms of a split are things like when the old-timers, the people who were there from the founding, from the beginning, start saying things like, it's not like it used to be. It doesn't feel the same anymore. They can't quite put it into words, but they know it's not the same. Even though the organization might be more successful than it ever was in the past, it's just not the same. Other symptoms are when the organization starts focusing more on what the competition is doing and worrying less about what they are doing. When they start asking outsiders, who should we be? How should we talk to you? At the beginning, they never asked anybody.
(2004). Brian Burton, aka Danger Mouse, takes the Beatles' White Album, combines it with Jay-Z's The Black Album to create the Grey Album. The Grey Album becomes an immediate sensation online, and the Beatles record company sends out countless cease and desist letters for unfair competition and dilution of our valuable property. Now, the Grey Album is a remix. It is new media created from old media. It was made using these three techniques: copy, transform, and combine. That's how you remix. You take existing songs, you chop them up, you transform the pieces, you combine them back together again, and you've got a new song, but that new song is clearly comprised of old songs. But I think these aren't just the components of remixing. I think these are the basic elements of all creativity. I think everything is a remix, and I think this is a better way to conceive of creativity. It's been estimated that 2/3 of the melodies Dylan used in his early songs were borrowed. This is pretty typical among folk singers. Here's the advice of Dylan's idol, Woody Guthrie: the words are the important thing. Don't worry about tunes. Take a tune, sing high when they sing low, sing fast when they sing slow, and you've got a new tune. Henry Ford once said, "I invented nothing new. I simply assembled the discoveries of other men behind whom were centuries of work." Progress happens when all the factors that make for it are ready, and then it is inevitable. Now, this idea that everything is a remix might sound like common sense until you're the one getting remixed. For example,
I mean, Picasso had a saying, he said, good artists copy, great artists steal. And we have, always been shameless about stealing great ideas.
Okay, so that's 96, here's 2010. I'm going to destroy Android because it's a stolen product. I'm willing to go thermonuclear war on this. Okay, so in other words, great artists steal, but not from me.
You know, throughout history, there have always been inventions that have changed the world. The telephone, printing press, the television and radio, railways and automobiles. All these inventions changed our lives and changed society because they helped connect people. When people are connected, we can accomplish some pretty amazing things. We can get closer to the people that we care about. We can get access to new jobs and opportunities and ideas. We can receive education and healthcare and communication and access to new services. But technology isn't progress by itself. Instead, it enables progress and a lot of the things that we care deeply about. But technology, it has to serve the whole of society. Connectivity can't just be a privilege for some of the rich and powerful. It needs to be something that everyone shares and an opportunity for everyone. So for the last 10 years, Facebook has been on this mission to make the world more open and connected. And for us, that really means the whole world, not just the people in the countries that are already connected and are on the internet today. We believe that connectivity is a human right, and that connectivity and getting connectivity for the world is one of the fundamental challenges of our generation. In the US, one model that we talk about from time to time is, you can always call 911, or in India, it's similar. You can dial 100 to access the police. But you can dial 911, and even if you haven't paid for a phone plan, you can always get free help if there's a medical emergency, or if there's a crime or a fire, or something else that you need help with or you're in danger. And I think that there needs to be a 911 for the internet, where even if you haven't bought a data plan or can't afford that, you can get free access to some basic services for health, education, jobs, communication, just some really important basic things. So
4 years ago here at TED, Ray Kurzweil and I started a new university called Singularity University. And we teach our students all of these technologies, in particular, how they can be used to solve humanity's grand challenges. And every year, we ask them to start a company or product or a service that can affect positively the lives of 1 billion people within a decade. Think about that, the fact that literally a group of students can touch the lives of 1 billion people today. 30 years ago, that would have sounded ludicrous. Today, we can point at dozens of companies that have done just that. The one thing I've learned at the X Prize is that small teams, driven by their passion with a clear focus, can do extraordinary things. Things that large corporations and governments could only do in the past. Let me share and close with a story that really got me excited. There is a program that some of you might have heard of. It's a game called Fold It. It came out of the University of Washington in Seattle. And this is a game where individuals can actually take a sequence of amino acids and figure out how the protein is going to fold. And how it folds dictates its structure and its functionality. It's very important for research in medicine, and up until now, it's been a supercomputer problem. And this game has been played by university professors and so forth, and it's literally hundreds of thousands of people came online and started playing it, and it showed that, in fact, today, the human pattern recognition machinery is better at folding proteins than the best computers. And when these individuals went and looked at who is the best protein folder in the world, it wasn't an MIT professor, it wasn't a Caltech student. It was a person from England, from Manchester, a woman, who during the day was an executive assistant at a rehab clinic, and at night was the world's best protein folder. Ladies and gentlemen, what gives me tremendous confidence in the future is the fact that we are now more empowered as individuals to take on the grand challenges of this planet. We have the tools with this exponential technology. We have the passion of the DIY innovator. We have the capital of the techno-philanthropist. And we have 3 billion new minds coming online to work with us, to solve the grand challenges, to do that which we must do.